Join us today for this episode of Two Guys on a Porch, where Jason and I are not going to agree on the whiskeys we're drinking, much like we don't agree on many things. We're still friends. Let's see if we talk about gerrymandering today, if you're going to agree with us, because it is crazy, ridiculous, and we're going to see if it is what it is. Gerrymandering. Stick around.
Welcome to Two Guys on a Porch. I'm Jason. This is Bradford. As always, we have my hunting dog, Kim, with us again on the porch. Another cold winter Tennessee day where we're sitting on the porch enjoying a cigar, a fellowship stick, or as we like to call them, a glass filled with the flavor of friendship. Today, we're on the porch again, but stop. The holidays are over, but give us a gift. Punch that like and subscribe button so you can give us the gift of keep on filming and bringing you episodes. Today, we're on the porch again with some great pours and, as always, great conversation. How are you doing, Bradford?
I'm great, and I'm excited about what we're talking
You
about.
look
today.
cold.
Well, that's because it is cold.
But man, you got the thing choked in your neck, and have you turned European on me with that hat?
Well, no, I'm just staying warm, and I like the style of the hat.
You are stylish.
Have a little bit of cashmere hugging my neck today, so it is.
Scarves have gone out of fashion, but I think you are single-handedly going to bring it back.
Now look, there is a difference between style and fashion, and scarves never go out of style.
Yeah.
Regardless of how fashionable they may be. I'm always in style.
I will take your word on that.
So today we're going to talk about a political topic.
Yep.
So hang on, guys. We're going to talk about gerrymandering, and it's a topic certainly relevant in today's political world. And while we're doing that, we're going to drink a couple of noted American whiskeys. We've got Jefferson's, the Marianne McLain edition, and that's a throwback, of course, to Jefferson himself, who was around when gerrymandering started. That's how long it's been in place. And we've got one of your favorite labels, Old Fitzgerald.
Yeah, it truly has become my favorite. If you were to ask me, it's your last, deathbed bourbon, whatever. Right now, it would be the 19-year-old Fitzgerald, Old Fitzgerald, very, very old Fitzgerald, 19-year-old. You're not going to find it on a shelf. You're not going to find it hardly anywhere, but it's great stuff. This is the opposite end of this. This is they just came out with it, right? It did this 7-year version I'm talking about.
The 7-year version they did just come out with. This is their lowest end of lowest end. This is their 80 proof, kind of standard wheated mash bill that Heaven Hill offers. And just as a quick aside, Old Fitzgerald is Julian Pappy Van Winkle's signature label.
Yeah. When
he owned Stitzel Weller until his death, it was sold 7 years after he died. He died in 1965. But Old Fitz was his label.
That's right.
And
his preferred label. They had the Pappy Van Winkle out then, but this is their high end. Old Fitzgerald was their top shelf stuff.
Yeah, and so this particular label bottle was discontinued effectively by Heaven Hill and replaced with Larceny as their kind of signature wheated whiskey. Larceny is still around, but this has just become more prevalent and available. Still, in some states, it's going to be all over the shelves. In others, it's not going to be around at all. It's $40 a bottle. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's by far the cheapest bottle of Old Fitzgerald.
Versus your 19-year-old Old Fitzgerald, which is in the thousands.
I don't know. I've actually been able to find it more about $800, $900 right now.
For the 19-year.
Yeah, the bourbon prices are down right now. So
that's great.
In the past, you're exactly right. But you're buying it third party, so it's whatever you are a victim to, right? It's not, you're not going into the liquor store and finding it.
Yeah, and shout out to our friends at Mission Cigar and Social in Franklin and Spring Hill. Monty has set us up again with these are Padron 1964 anniversary Pyramid. So named because of the shape of the cigar. It's thicker on the bottom end where it's lit and tapered toward the top. It's a lovely cigar. I mean, Padron, you can never go wrong.
And 64s, this is my go-to cigar. I've not had the pyramid shape before, but it's a great smoke.
Yeah, and when I say never, I've never had a bad cigar from Padron.
Yeah.
Just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's great. So far, it's burning evenly. We'll see as the podcast goes on.
So let's grab a taste. Here's the Old Fitzgerald.
Now, we've not had this before. This
no,
is
we've not.
truly a new taste for us.
Yeah, now it's 80 proof, so I'm going to expect it to be fairly mild.
And it's a light yellow, so this has not been aged very long. You wouldn't expect it with that price point.
Yeah, it's at least 4 years old.
Right, by rule.
You know, the comments that I read about this, and you can test after you've had a drink, is it's fine to drink if you really don't want to care or think about what you're drinking.
Yeah.
So you tell me if that's a true statement or not.
So it's a cold day. It's not much of a nose, no nose to it. It goes down smooth, but yeah, it doesn't have a lot. It doesn't have any character to it. It's not bad. It's milk toast.
I would agree.
It's a milk toast bourbon.
I think that description of it's great to drink if you don't really care about or want to think about what you're drinking, I think it's perfect for that. I would pour this neat at 80 proof.
Yeah.
And be happy to sit there and watch a game or spend time on the porch with a friend.
Yeah. Again, I like this. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's not a lot good with it. It makes me wonder if Pappy had approved this. Like, you know, if I'm going to put my Old Fitzgerald name on it, if I want to put that moniker on it, is this what you want?
Yeah, because what did he used to say?
It's poor good whiskey or nothing at all, or something to that effect.
Something to that effect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure he hit the mark.
always good whiskey. That's what it was. Always good whiskey. You know, this is not outstanding. It's
Milk toast is a great description.
yeah. It's starting. It's a great start to the race, but it hasn't finished yet.
I would say, if someone is new to bourbon, this would be a great one to try.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, this is you know, and something that would be unusual, something that they probably haven't had before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and you know, for the price point, hard to argue with it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely a great introductory whiskey. Let's talk politics.
This won't get us in trouble at all.
So, gerrymandering, which most people have heard that term, but what it means is the reconfiguration of legislative districts, either at the state level or at the national level. So they'll redraw congressional districts to political advantage. And it is so named for at the time, the governor for Maryland, Elbridge Gerry. In 1812, he signed the law. He wasn't necessarily in favor of it, though it benefited he and his political party. He subsequently became vice president under James Madison during his second term. So he was a signer of the Declaration. So a well-renowned character who is largely forgotten to history, other than his name being attached to this controversial political maneuver that has been in existence almost since the founding of the country.
Yeah. So districts, that's not laid out in the Constitution. It was left up in a goodwill or as a promise, not a promise. They trusted the states to fairly draw out their congressional districts. The federal government did not come down, and certainly the signers of Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, they did not say this is how you should go forth and put out your districts. So it's left up to the states. And of course, the states, they get their districts based upon the census, how many people are in your state. But how you draw it up is completely up to the states. Well, who runs the states? At least generally speaking, nowadays, it's one party or the other.
Yeah, you've got state legislatures who make decisions primarily about what districts look like. The effect that gerrymandering has at a state level is dictated largely by population changes.
Right.
California has lost population, and so they have seen a decline in representation in Congress. And other states have gained seats. I think California lost 2 at the last census. Other states picked up 1 here and there. And the number of representatives in Congress has not changed for, I think, since Hawaii and Alaska came into the Union in 1959.
So 435, right?
435. And at some point, you would think if population changes, you would see an increase in that number, but there's been no clamoring for that.
No.
So you've got these states that when districts are redrawn, they're going to protect their political interest. And most of the time, the people making the decision about what districts look like are those who are going to maintain office as a result.
To the victor goes the spoils, would you say?
As Andrew Jackson, or as was said about him by a U.S. Senator upon his election, that's exactly right. You know, famous Tennessean. He was the first president elected outside of either of the Adams or any Virginian.
Yeah.
So he was really kind of a, rebel rabble-rouser, particularly for the time. And so he basically said, I'm going to put anybody in office I want to and whatever level I want to.
Right.
And so it is exactly that. It's the power of those in power to determine what those districts look like.
Home cooking.
Yeah. And so when we talk about it, you would think a congressional district would look like a lot of states. A border is going to be drawn by a river, and then somebody is going to, drop a survey ledger from one end to another, and it's going to have a nice straight line. And districts do not look like that at all.
Not much so. Basically, you have to your districts have to be continuous. They can't be 2 separate areas. They have to have the same population, and there's a third one. I can't remember it has to be racially balanced. It can't be racially. The districts cannot be drawn racially.
Well,
and that's vague in what that means.
Yeah, and so the Voting Rights Act of 1965 prohibited racial discrimination in the drawing of districts. And Alabama, in particular, just recently in the past 5-6 years, they redrew districts that were struck down because they were deemed to take votes away from minorities. And in Alabama, it would be the black population. And so those districts were not upheld. It violated that part of the Voting Rights Act. However, a 2019 Supreme Court case, Rucho versus Common Cause, effectively sent the responsibility back and said, look, this is not a matter for the courts. This is a political issue. Every state gets to decide. And incidentally, just as a complete aside, Common Cause is a political action group founded in 1970. So this is a shout out to my favorite person from across the aisle, my ex-sister-in-law. So I say ex begrudgingly because I did divorce her husband's sister, but I still consider them family. But her grandfather was the founder of Common Cause, John Gardner. Yes, and he was a former cabinet member during the Johnson administration who resigned in protest over participation in the Vietnam War. He went on to found Common Cause, which is still in existence to this day. So shout out to Justine Reese,
cool.
Granddaughter of the founder of Common Cause. But this is an example of their participation in trying to lobby against gerrymandering, which, I'm sorry, it is what it is.
So it's the easiest and probably the longest standing tradition of concentrating your power in a state. If you want to have more representation in your state, if you're a Democratic, Republican state, you redraw the districts, so you dilute whatever political voting group and put that into a majority group that you like, so it dilutes that one population. There's very little rules, and so subsequently you get these funky shapes. They're the same population, but it's not a square, circle. It's all sort of crazy shapes.
Yeah, the name gerrymandering came from Jerry, obviously, but it looked like they felt like the district that was drawn, used it as an example in 1812, looked like a salamander.
That's right. That's the
crawling
main part,
on the ground. And it was just kind of all over the place. And as a great example, recently you live in the Tennessee 7th, which is a district that was redrawn after the retirement of a Democratic congressman and Republican takeover of the legislature in Tennessee. And it was redrawn to include parts that had not been in there before.
Right.
And I live, a mile's drive from your district. So I'm in the Tennessee 5th. And it eliminated many of the Democratic voters that had pushed that in as a Democratic stronghold. Now it's a Republican stronghold.
Yep.
And they just experienced a special election. They won a quote unquote close race by 9 points.
Yeah.
Now, the incumbent's going to win that in the next term, and it'll easily be double digits again, as it always has been. The interesting thing is what's happening right now. There's a very slim Republican majority in the House at the national level. Trump wants to maintain that. He's going to lose House seats because every incumbent president loses House seats.
It's the way it works, yeah.
But he doesn't want to lose control. But there's only a 6-seat majority. 3 of those are gone based on the current math. And so he's trying to encourage these other Republican-controlled states to redraw districts to maintain an advantage. Texas jumped in and said, okay, we're your huckleberry. So they did it with kind of the addition of 5 Republican seats, most likely. And guess what? California jumped in and said, we're going to counter that.
Yeah.
And they redrew theirs to have 5 potential Democratic seats.
The funny thing about this is that those Democrats in Texas, who were, of course, opposed to what Texas was doing, said, hey, we're going to fight this by not allowing quorum in the state legislature. So they run off to where else other than Chicago in the state of Illinois. Illinois is probably the single greatest example of Democrats' victory in gerrymandering. That state is crazy with it. So it's a Democratic majority state. And so they have redrawn their district maps for a long time now to hold that majority. You look at the 4th district in Illinois, it's a C-shaped. There's one little spot where it's like a single strip. It's got to be continuous, right? It can't be 2 separate areas. So there's like this little narrow strip that connects 2 areas.
Yeah, like one street with houses on both sides.
That's right. And so it's literally C-shaped. And then you have the 7th, which is the opposite side C, and it's the epitome of hypocrisy that they're fighting it in Texas, what they're doing, and they run for cover in Illinois, who's done it successfully for their own party.
Well, and you're talking about a state where it's a minor miracle that their governor doesn't go to jail after they serve their term.
Yeah,
I think they had 3 subsequent governors serve time in jail. And I think Trump pardoned Rod Blagojevich.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. He was pardoned and he was, found guilty for whatever fraud he had committed. So, yeah, it's now we talked about the Voting Rights Act prohibiting racial discrimination. However, there are majority minority districts, meaning there are predominantly black districts, and 90% of the nation's population votes Democrat. And so it not only guarantees a political party seat, most of those are going to be Democrat, but it guarantees minority representation in Congress. It's
obviously
more likely, it's more likely going to be represented by a black representative, not just a political party representative. And so there's no issue with that, at least not any popular opposition to that, because I think it does serve that purpose well. So, yeah, that's one component that I don't think there's any opposition to. Now you get into, and Texas would be a great example, what about Hispanic population? The largest growing, I don't even know if you can call it a minority, but I think they still are a minority, but they're going to become the plurality of the population of America.
Yeah.
More than white population, more than black population, Hispanic. And Hispanics have traditionally been Republican voters, going back to Cuba and that immigration taking place after Castro came into power. Well, Texas, huge Hispanic population, and they're a little more balanced in their voting. California, much more Democratic in their voting, and you get into the issue of immigration, illegal and otherwise. So, what's your take on the impact of that?
Well, I mean, this is what I hate about
Oh,
politics.
and you moved on to the
Yeah,
Jeffersons.
because, it's cold. I need a little something to warm me up.
This is 102 proof, by the way, so we've upped the proof
We
considerably.
have, and it's more expensive, but it's a much better bourbon. Jefferson's is
Like $2.50 a bottle, to your point.
yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
So talking bourbon for a second. So different bourbons have different ways to distinguish themselves. Jefferson's, they've done a few different little tricks. Jefferson's Ocean, they put it on boats in the ocean, kind of rock the boat, and helps theoretically mature the bourbon quicker because there's movement in the barrels.
Yeah, trying to get more of the whiskey on the surface area. of the
Exactly.
wood.
What they generally do is they are a master blender. Marianne's here is no exception to that. There's a whole list of they will take various barrels that have been aged for 10 plus years. Not all this is 10 plus a year bourbon, but they'll blend it, and they do a wonderful job with this. This is more expensive, but this is a much more complex bourbon. Has a very slight nose to it, but a pleasant nose. It's a wonderful bourbon that's smooth and no strict tannins to it. I know tannins are a wine term, but it's not that burning into it. This is a much more complex and enjoyable bourbon.
Yeah, and I don't care for it. I think they missed the mark.
Really?
Yeah, and to be clear, this is not Jefferson's standard offering. Jefferson's standard is going to be more of a mid-price, $50 to $60
Yeah, it's their
bottle.
very small batch bourbon.
Yeah, this is Marianne McLain, a shout out to the seventh great grandmother of their founder, not Jefferson's great grandmother, but the founder of Jefferson's. So it is, and it is so convoluted to describe the blending of the mash bills that they used, but it is really a shout out to like someone we met.
Ashley Barnes.
Ashley Barnes at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, who is not a distiller, but a blender.
Master blender, yep. And the blend is not a mystery. It's right there on the bottle. You can look it up online. But I like this. This is good. Maybe it's because it's juxtaposed to the Old Fitzgerald. Not much to it, but
Yeah, and I don't think they hit the mark.
all right, fair enough. I would give you.
I'm going to go back to the Old Fitz.
All right, well, I'll keep drinking this. Maybe I'm just cold. Maybe it's not worth the $2.50, but it's definitely a better drink than the Old Fitz, and it almost seems heresy for me to say so.
It is certainly more complex.
Yeah.
It's got more flavor for sure, more character. The other, it doesn't have any character at all.
Yeah. Going back to the political discussion, what I hate about politics is they all talk around the point, but they don't say what they mean. And I think that's probably to his fault. That's how Trump has his success, is he just straightforward tells you what he thinks, whether you like or not. You know exactly where that guy stands. The whole gerrymandering thing, the whole districts things, it comes down to illegal migration. It comes down to the census. The 2020 census was horrible. Even the U.S. Census Bureau says it was done poorly. Now, granted, they had the whole challenge of this was COVID. It was done poorly. They overcounted some states, undercounted other states. And of course, the census, this is where we're getting our population. And then from there, it points to, okay, this is how many congressional seats you have, how many electoral votes you have. And so the states that were generally overcounted were the Democrat-leaning states. The ones that were undercounted were the Republican-leaning states. And so consequently, they draw their districts. And the whole argument about illegal immigration, it's complete balderdash that politicians rather, are concerned about the illegal immigrants. They just want to bolster their votes. It's hard to say, but gerrymandering is political Photoshop. It is just basically trying to solidify their base. They're trying to build up their stronghold. Both sides. It's not a Republican or Democratic sole issue. Both parties do it, and that's what I hate about politics is they don't shoot it straight. They don't say what they're really doing. Illegal migration it's just basically, they Democrats want more of it because generally speaking, not necessarily historically, but nowadays, they're not supposed to vote, but it's thought that they vote more, the citizens who are illegal immigrants or the citizens who have relatives or they're citizens, vote more Democratic. Trump's a little bit of exception to that. He got, I think, like 42% in the in the recent election, 24 election, and in the past, was it back in 2020? He got 32%. So he's got more Hispanic vote.
Well, and he got more black votes than any
Yeah.
Republican had gotten since memory.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it comes down to so Hispanics are supposed to vote more Democratic. Not necessarily true, but that's the theory. But nobody wants to say that. That's the unspeakable thing is that they're really trying to it's another way to bolster their districts because the census counts all people, not just citizens. The census counts citizens and illegal immigrants.
That's a great point because the census does want to count everyone that resides here, illegally or not. And so that's the impact. That population is an impact on the states and their representation in Congress.
Exactly.
Even if those people can't vote for them. Now, however, you have illegal immigrants who do not want to be counted. They're not going to participate in a census.
Right.
They're not going to fill it out. They're not going to answer the door when the census counters are going door to door, which they do. And COVID was a great example of people who didn't get counted because of, we're not going door to door like we had before.
And they're most likely also to be renters. Renters are less likely to be counted because by definition, renters are somewhat transient. If you buy a home, you're going to be there generally at least 5 to 7 years. If you're a renter, it may be year to year. And so that's the part of the population that's most likely to be missed.
Yeah, and what's interesting is with technology, particularly in this century, we've seen districts redrawn. One, AI is becoming more prominent in its use, but they will take data analytics to the degree that they know, to your point about renters, they know who voted. Not just who has a high propensity to do so, but who has actually voted and which party they voted for. And so they want districts drawn so defined that it includes or excludes those that benefit or would hurt them.
Yeah. Well, and that's how Trump won over Hillary Clinton was the use of that. He won over
Hillary. Oh, beat her. I was like, he won her over? Like, gained her support? Careful.
No, that not so. He beat her. His son-in-law, Trump's son-in-law, blanking on his name, doesn't make a difference.
Jared Kushner?
Yeah, him. He was the key in leading that back in 2020. Did a great job with that. Now he's gone on to making peace in the Middle East. But hats off to him for seeing that advantage and how to use it. But the whole gerrymandering thing, the whole political thing, it's political Photoshop. Nobody wants to call it straight. Black is black, white is white. They don't want to say the obvious. They just all dance around the issues, and that just bugs me.
Yeah, and I think if you're listening to us or watching us, and you're looking for an opinion on do we support gerrymandering or not, I think I would come down on there's no point in having an opinion. It exists. It has effectively in this country always existed, and it's not going away. It is a political tool that's available to every state. And we've seen that. The California-Texas example is a perfect case of that. it's going to continue. So, don't fight the battle that's already been fought.
Like
It's asked and answered.
totally agree. Like my favorite movie, The Unforgiven, there is no innocent character in there. They're all guilty.
Right.
They're all guilty. This is just another day in the office for politicians. I won't even go so far to say the single greatest mistake of our founding fathers is not more defining in the Constitution how we define districts.
Oh, and I'm glad that they didn't.
Are you? I mean, it creates a bunch of problems that, I mean, you let the idea originally is to put more power in the states, but the states are prone to corruption. You know, that's
Right.
that's the nice thing about the Constitution, the balance of powers, is that, you know, if you have a king, you have that you're beholden to that one person and more susceptible to corruption if that one person becomes corrupt. At least with the balance of powers, it fights against that. The problem with states having the power, it's a smaller group. And so if there's a majority one way or the other, which there usually is, lends itself to corruption. So I would have, and then some states have, like California included, they had the referendum of like, okay, we're going to have a public forum to describe the districts. But California, and Gavin Newsom is the leader of this, Obama in the background, of like, okay, that was a great idea. We're going to throw that out. Proposition 50 was to counteract Texas, and we are going to get away from the people's districting of California, and we are going to redraw it ourselves.
They appointed a commission, so the legislature didn't have the power. But then, lo and behold, who controlled the commission?
That's right. They named their people on there. And so it's a loaded game.
Utah did the same. They had a commission, and then the legislature determined that the commission's recommendations were not binding.
Yeah.
So then they could do whatever they want to.
Political Photoshop. I'm telling you, the whole thing is it's a rigged game. It's a New York street game, shell game. It's, you know, and so for right now, Trump is getting all the blame for doing this and that, but the Democrats are just as guilty of doing it. It's just it's the milieu they swim in.
The best quote that I have heard with regard to gerrymandering that I like is, it is politicians' attempt at picking their voters as opposed to voters getting to pick their politicians.
Yeah.
That is gerrymandering in a nutshell. Supreme Court has decided it. It's hard to have an opinion and say right or wrong. It is what it is. I am happy to see the Supreme Court picking up things like Trump wants to change the birthright citizenship. I think they're only doing that to confirm that the Constitution is pretty clear on that.
Right.
Just as it is clear on presidential terms of office. Trump finally had to concede that he's not going to be able to run in 2028. That was a big fear that people had. My point the whole time was, it's not happening. He's not changing the Constitution.
Yeah. Nobody's changing it. You get a constitutional amendment in nowadays is impossible.
Impossible. Well,
Yeah.
not entirely, but effectively impossible.
Well, you have to have 2/3 majority in the House and 3/4 of the states. We can't agree about anything nowadays. So
We didn't agree about the whiskey today.
Exactly. Yeah, we're 50-50 on the whiskeys, and we have to be 2/3 majority. It's not happening.
Right.
So.
Well, guys, we are excited that you were able to join our political discussion today. We'd love to hear comments with regard to what we've talked about and any other topics that you want us to cover. Not that we are experts, but we enjoy it. And thanks for joining us today on Two Guys on a Porch.
Punch, subscribe, like. We need you out there. Thanks for joining us.
Please like and subscribe, rate, all the stuff you do on all the social media platforms. Thanks, guys.
Let us know what your drink and cigar of choice is at twoguysonaporch.com, and you'll be entered into a drawing to get some Two Guys on a Porch swag